Hello. I'm coming to you from a power cut, which is why it's kind of dark. I don't really know what's going on, but it is what it is. So I'm on my 4G and I'm on my phone, which is my backup plan. So, cheers. I hope your weekend has been very good. And, well, no, your weekend, it's Friday, isn't it? Your week. I do hope the week has been good. And I don't know if you've noticed, I've started doing a few more videos and things. And I'm actually really enjoying it because it's just so much quicker to get messages out, isn't it? Feel free, by the way, to ever pop into our group, the Cycle Breaker Parents Unite group, which is obviously where I should be right now. And you can always share a video of what's going on. If you ever have any questions, like the apologising thing of this week, which has been a bit of a theme, has come out of conversations that I've had with real life parents. I know, they're real things. I'm going to take this opportunity because I know that Facebook is doing that thing where it's like, Laura's online. I'm going to take this opportunity to say, hey, and if you're watching this on the replay, so one, can you give me a hashtag replay and let me know how you are and where you are, and if your power's on. I managed to make a cup of tea. Oh, I say me. John made me a cup of tea just before somebody sent a message saying, I think the power's about to go out because the builders are doing work. And my lovely husband, who knows me so well, and that tea is one of my love languages, made me a cup of Earl Grey straight away. And then the electricity went off, so I raised this to husbands and wives out there who know us very, very well, or partners, or whoever is in your life. So I am also looking for people. I have, it's 3 people now, it's very exciting, that I'm going to have a virtual cuppa with. And really, I say I'm going to have a couple with them, and of course I'm going to be saying, hello and chatting and things. It is, I'm going to be totally honest, it is a bit of an excuse for me to get to meet people, because I really, you know how much respect I have for cycle breaker parents. So much. Any parents, but parents who didn't get the best start in life and didn't get the most attentive parenting because there was substance abuse in their household, or they felt unsafe, or so many reasons. Or it could be a parent suffering from a mental disorder. So of course there's not blame in that kind of environment, and a lot of people don't seek help because they feel guilty. And you think, my mom had severe depression when I was growing up. Not my mom, but I'm thinking of clients that I've spoken to, or just people who have said, my mum tried her best, my dad tried his best, and their demons beat them, and that's okay. And we can say, thank you for everything that you did, Mum. Thank you for fighting the good fight. Thank you, Dad, for trying as much as you did. And it had an effect on me that you don't even need to tell your parents. Next week I'm going to talk a lot about reparenting, which is a healing. I'm going to use the terminology, a modality. It just means a thing that you do, like a method. And maybe methodology is better, but modality is what we use. So reparenting is amazing, and it's about going in and finding these gaps, these what I call them wounds. It can be a big old gaping sore, or it could be a graze, it could be a bruise. And these are what become your triggers when you're a parent. And you have a right to heal. And especially if it is stopping you from showing up and being in your relationship with your child in the way you want to be, you have absolute right, and I would argue a responsibility to go in and heal so that you can be the best parent you can be. And that isn't the same thing as being disrespectful to your parents. It absolutely isn't. And it's not the same as not loving them. It's not the same as not appreciating them. It's going to be quite an exciting week next week. I'm looking forward to it. So, on apologising, actually need to get a sheet of paper, just give me a sec. So when we're talking about, here it is. Hi, that's my grubby chair that my 3-year-old wipes his face on sometimes. It's brought in from the dining table. I do scrub it every now and then, but there's a point. So I'm looking at the Own Your Parenthood workbook right now. Anybody who's already done it, it's under. So we have a power cut and thunder. Hilarious. Anybody who's already been part of the 5-day workshop, which I ran for the first time at the end of June, has... Gosh. Not quite sure what's going on there. If I disappear, I'm really sorry. It's something going on with the power. Although I'm on my phone and I'm on 4G, so it actually shouldn't be a problem. But we shall see. So anybody who's already done the Own Your Parenthood 5-day free workshop, which was first run in June and is coming around again on the 13th of August, which is a Friday. I like to start on a Friday because I know that the week is really, really busy. So on day 2, we talk about getting off the power seesaw. And essentially, when I think about, so the 5-day workshop is about, it's about encompassing a lot of the things that I like to share and to teach, all in one kind of bite-sized 5-day, well 6-day for the bonus, chunk. And the idea, the concept of apologising to your children, it is in its own right breaking a cycle. And it's the power cycle and the cycle of, here we are, the cycle of power and the thought behaviour loop. So I'm going to share with you, because we all know, and from what I put up on my main Facebook profile earlier on in the week when I said, do you apologise to your children? And like 50 odd people were like, yes, yes, yes. There's still people today commenting on it, like, yes, of course I apologise to my child. And then I put the follow-up question, okay, did your parents apologise to you when you were a kid? Nope, 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 nope. There were 2 people who said yes, and it's still ongoing, so I will update you. And that tells me that there's a lot of hope. It tells me that things are changing as we go forward, and it tells me that parents are apologising and breaking their own power cycles, which is amazing. It also tells me that those parents are probably making it up as they go along, which is fine. It's totally fine. Experimentation is frankly the way that we all learn. I always teach it as, the best models in when I was teaching maths as a primary school teacher. Trial and error. And you get to the point where you can make shortcuts and, somebody can teach you ways of doing it, whatever it is, the problem you're about to solve. But at the end of the day, you've always got trial and error to fall back on. So I'm going to explain in this training, because I don't want it just to be, okay, here's what you do in this case. I talk about this a lot, that it needs the healing plus the skills. That's what gives us the parent that we want to be. Because if we just buy books like How to Talk So Kids Will Listen, I have that book. I use that book in the Conscious Parenting Toolbox, which is my self-study, I suppose it's a course, isn't it? It's my self-study course, which you can ask me about, or, it pops up probably about once a week. I try and put something on the Facebook group, because there's always new people coming in, and they've not heard of it before. So it makes sense to share it. So I actually do use that book, and things like Sarah Ockwell Smith's Gentle Parenting, How to Parent Your Spirited Child, The Whole Brain Child. Yes, skills are so important, but they are just one part of it. Because if you, as a cycle breaker parent, more so than, some more flashes, I think it's the lights going funny, more so than parents who don't have cycles to break, or have, the societal cycles to break of unattuned parenting, of authoritarianism. Yes, there are societal cycles, and the people who have their personal cycles, the intergenerational cycles to break. We have more, and that's okay, because there are things that we can do. So I want to share you the why it happens, like why apologizing is so good, seriously, and why conflict is so good in the relationship. So we're talking about the rupture and repair model of relationships, which is incredibly powerful, and even more amazing, it's freeing, because the rupture and repair model tells us that we don't have to be perfect, because of course we can't. And we don't need to, and that is the great thing about it. So I'm going to explain a bit about that, and a bit about what happens when we have, in our bodies and in our emotions and in our energy, what happens when we have, should we call it a negative interaction? as in we shout at our children, or we take the reins of the power, we weigh down the power seesaw and we say, do you know what, just do it. Kids, just do it. We're going to be late. I tried, I asked you, I supported you, and you know what, I'm sick of it. Just do it. This is, or we, pick them up and say, do you know what, you're going, fine. And I believe there is a time and a place for actually having to do that. If one of your children is hurting somebody else, certainly one of their siblings, you have to remove them. If they're about to run into the road, that is the time when you need to pick them up. I'm thinking of, younger children. In a gentle way, in a way that you explain, because this is a rupture in relationship and you can repair it. And then I'm going to give you the 6 steps that I use for apologising and that I teach. I also have a PDF of steps of how to do that, and I will add it. It's on my computer, which, the computer's working but the internet isn't because we're in a power cut. So what I will do is, at the earliest available opportunity, i.e. when the lights go back on, I will upload that into the Facebook group, into the guide section, along with this video. So, what happens when we have a negative interaction? Negative is one of those loaded words, isn't it? Shall we say a less successful interaction with our child? So here is the example. If I'm going to paint the picture, I've got my notes here as well. So, imagine, I talked about this on the podcast that came out this morning. So if you want even more support with this, go over to the podcast. I shared about it today, so you can go over to the podcast and you can listen to it. You can listen to it there. Because you're in the Cycle Breaker Parents Unite group, you will get the PDF that I talk about in the podcast. I would say send me an email and I'll send it to you, but you will get it because you're here. And frankly, if you're in the group, you get preferential treatment. Love that. So, the scene. So, you haven't had a great night's sleep. Either you have young children still who are waking up and keeping you up all night, which, by the way, is developmentally normal, or maybe you've got a lot of thoughts going on in your brain. Maybe you've done that thing that I know I do, and I have lots of friends who do it, where, frankly, we should be in bed, but we haven't had any time to ourselves, so we watch Netflix or read novels on Kindle. Anybody else do that? Let me know. Type in Netflix or Prime or whatever you watch if that is you. When you're staying up and it's like 11 o'clock and you're like, God, why? And really, it's because even though we know sleep is great for us, also so is personal time on your own. So yeah, we all do that. And then you wake up in the morning and you're really tired. You're getting breakfast ready and they don't like it. Why don't they like it? I don't know why they don't like it, because it's the same stuff that they have every day, but today it's not gone down very well. You've got messages or emails that are coming through already for things that you need to do for work. You've got to-do lists, maybe professional ones, maybe home ones. You're thinking about all that entire mental load, like got to do the washing, got to get a wash on before we leave the house, or got to do this, more lightning or electricity, I don't know. But we've got so many things to do. Have you got your bag? Have you got your shoes? Have you got your PE kit? Sports days going on all over the place right now, aren't they? And look at your watch. I've got to go. I've got to go out so I can get to work on time if you go to work. Kids, if you do the school thing, okay, kids, we've got to go, otherwise we're going to miss the bus, or we're going to be late, or, things are going to happen. And here's when we go into these loops of anxiety and pressure, at which point you get them to the front door and they start shoving each other. I'm not wearing these shoes. I don't want them. And that's where it happens. Put your shoes on. We're going to be late. Whatever it is. And everybody has different scenarios. That is a scenario directly taken, apart from the whole school thing, but directly taken from my life of trying to get 3 kids under 4 out of the house. And it became like a real stress point, which I'm going to talk about when I talk about the steps to apologising, because the last step is how to make sure it doesn't happen again, or is less likely to as we go forward. This is perfectly normal. You will have things that your teenagers do that set you off. This is a phrase that everybody uses. Oh, it just sets me off. It pushes my button. It winds me up. These are triggers. Sometimes they're emotional ones, like, why don't you listen to me? This is a deep wound, and sometimes it's an environmental one, like I am just too tired to deal with this. Both are fine, and both we can work with. So it happened, and you're thinking, sometimes even as it comes out of your mouth, you're like, oh no, it's happened again, and I so want to be the gentle parent. This is not in alignment. This behavior is not in alignment with my goals as a parent. Crap, what do I do? And I want you to know, it's normal. Everybody does it. It's good. Seriously, hold on. It's when we think of what Dan Siegel, who wrote The Whole Brain Child and The Power of Showing Up, amongst many, many others. He's a child psychotherapist, and he specialises in trauma as well. He's amazing. He talks about the rupture and repair model of relationships. So rupture meaning explosion, breakage, damage. There is no family, there is no healthy family who doesn't argue. It's like relationships, like romantic relationships with a partner. You're going to argue, or at least you're going to have conflict sometimes. One person wants one thing, one person wants another. One person wants one thing, and that physically can't happen. Like they want to go on holiday, that physically can't happen because you don't have enough money. It's a conflict. When everyone was doing COVID homeschooling, if you got 3 kids and 1 tablet, or 3 kids and no tablet, or 1 kid and no tablet, conflict, it's going to happen, and it is normal. And having micro tears, like micro damage in relationships, and repairing it is how we get strong. And when you think about it, you will see how little I do use weights, and that's fine because I'm into yoga now. So when you go to the gym and you're doing the weights, and what you're actually doing when you're at the gym is weakening your muscles. You are creating lots and lots of micro tears in your muscles, in the tissues, and that makes you temporarily weaker. This is why you have to do stretches. This is why you have to do cool downs. This is why you have to eat a healthy diet and maybe get lots of protein afterwards. And the strengthening of that muscle comes the next day, or whenever you choose to rest. And I know some people do 2 or 3 days on and then a day off to rest. This is strengthening, and actually this is what we have in our relationships. When we do something, I say we, I mean we parents, when we do something that causes a rupture in our relationship, it can be, if you shout at your children constantly and you never try and make it better, it is going to cause damage. It is over a long period of time. I'm talking a long period of time. If that's been, you up until now, don't worry, because you can change it. This is the wonderful thing. Children are incredibly forgiving, and when you choose to break the cycle and to turn, this is why my 12-week program is called The Turning Point. When you choose to change things, everything changes in the family. So you can rupture, which is normal, and then repair. How do we repair a relationship? How do we make it better? We talk with children, we talk about, it's okay, you can make it better. This is rupture and repair. They've hurt somebody, or they ripped up their painting, or whatever it was. Okay, we need to make it better. This is rupture and repair in action, and it happens everywhere. So when we parents do something, like our action is in we are passive aggressive, or we're sarcastic, or we're rude to our kids, or maybe they're poking us with something, and then we just throw it, which is easy to do. Any of these things, and of course the standard thing is the raising your voice, or maybe you drop into that place where you're so desperate to get out that you use one of those threats that don't really make sense. I'm going to do a whole different series on those, about natural consequences. So the natural consequences, if you don't put your shoes on, I wouldn't phrase it like this, but the natural consequence would be, if you don't put your shoes on and get ready, you're going to miss the bus and the event which is at the other end of the bus at the right time. That's a natural consequence. And a not natural consequence is, if you don't put your shoes on, I will not buy you an ice cream, which I promised I would do. That doesn't really make sense. That is actually a punishment. So it's not a consequence, even when, you know, we're presenting it as that. So when we've fallen into those traps, when we've let our, you know, we've been triggered by somebody's behavior, and we have acted in a way which is in the way that what somebody in this group said the other day brilliantly, not in alignment with my values as a gentle parent, you are able to repair. The best way to do that is by apologising. And all apologies are not equal. Now, if you have tried an apology, brilliant, well done. If it has blown up in your face, there may be a couple of nuggets in here when I go through the example. Because there's a couple of things like the word but and other things that they really do backfire. Oh, hey Gemma, hello. Do you have a power cut? I have a power cut. That's why I'm sitting here in the dark. It's really frustrating. Anyway, let me know. Well, I can't actually see in the comments because I'm on my phone. Swipe left to reveal comments. I'm trying to do it. It's not working. Oh well. Anyway, let me know. So, here are the steps. So, imagining something's happened, you've raised your voice. I'm going to keep with that example because it's easier. And then you've just shouted like, just do it. And they've done that thing where they look at you and you're like, oh, I didn't want to do that. Here's the amazing thing. You can make it better. So, number one is six steps. Yeah, maths teacher. 6 steps for this. And step 1 is say the words. And I know, hello, can you see me? Strangely, it said due to poor connection on wireless, but I'm not on wireless, I'm on 4G. Unless maybe it's the pylons that are being affected. I don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep trying, and if it doesn't work, I will just record it on my phone and upload it at a point when builders are not tinkering with the electricity of my house. So, 1, say the words. You've literally got to say, I'm sorry for shouting. I'm sorry I raised my voice right there. Because I want you to think back, the Facebook post I put the other day on my main profile sparked off a whole load of conversation about parents. When I was saying, you know, how did your parents apologise to you? And most people said they didn't. And other people said, well, they did, but then they kind of still blamed me and they didn't really apologise. You know, so they'd say like, well, I'm sorry that you felt like my behaviour was not good. Like, well, that's not really an apology, is it? So you've got to say the words. You've got to be clear and you've got to own it. I'm sorry I shouted at you right now. Number 2, it's very healing for your children to hear that, especially from an adult. Number 2 is explain that it wasn't appropriate behaviour. Because the thing is that however we behave, our children think is normal. Now, here's what I want to say as well about cycle breaker parents. So this applies to everybody, but also especially with cycle breaker parents. A lot of cycle breaker parents grew up in strange households with a parent with some form of substance abuse, household that had an adult who was emotionally cut off, households that moved around a lot, or they were in foster care in different homes and things, and that's just normal by virtue of being the thing that they see all the time. It becomes normal. So if we always shout at our children and then never apologise, they will think it's normal. So step 2 is tell them it's not appropriate for me to raise my voice at you just because I'm bigger than you and I'm having big feelings. So sorry I did that. It's not appropriate for me to take it out on you. And this isn't you losing status. This is you gaining status as a really awesome parent. Number 3 is where you explain how you felt. It ties in with number 4, which I talk about in the Conscious Parenting Toolbox at length. Sit on your butt. So don't say, I felt blah, 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 but you shouldn't have left your Lego out in the first place. So number 3 is you explain, because you need to show them this is how you are effectively mentoring your children in their emotional growth. I was feeling really frustrated or stressed out or anxious. You know, if you've got older children, they're going to understand about anxiety. If you have 3-year-olds, they're not. So you could say, I was feeling really stressed out, or I was feeling really worried that we weren't going to make the train. And the train doesn't wait for us. It will just go at 10:51. And if we're not there, we miss our holiday. So, you know, you're explaining what led to your feelings becoming really, really big. So big that they exploded at your children. So this is why it links to question to number 4, is where we have to sit on our butt, because we shouldn't and we can't then say, but if you'd have just put your shoes on in the first place, we wouldn't have had a problem, would we? Because the word but, in grammar, Gemma's watching this, she's a teacher as well, and she'll know, in grammar, the word but is classed as a negating conjunction. So conjunction, it joins 2 parts of the sentence, and it negates. So as soon as you say, I was feeling really angry because, you know, we were going to miss something, but you should have just put your coat on. What you're doing there is you're bouncing the blame. You're blaming your child for your own behaviour, and that's not cool. And a lot of the cycle breaker parents that I spoke to on that post I was talking about, a lot of them said that, and they said how it made them lose respect for their parents. So we don't want to fall into that trap, because we want to break the cycle. So there we go. Explain why, how you felt, using passive terms maybe. I felt really, we have lights. Oh, we have air conditioning. It's 33 degrees. So I was feeling really frustrated because nobody was listening to me, and that makes me feel really upset. Passive verb, because I wasn't being listened to, and it makes me feel upset. So there's no, but it was actually your fault because you should have listened to me in the first place, because we're apologising. Number 5 is acknowledge your child's feelings, which is where this is more on taking ownership, isn't it? Where we say, must have been really scary when Mummy shouted. Like, I'm actually, because I'm having, I call this like a contraction, like an emotional contraction, because doesn't that feel shit to say? But we've got to own it. A few weeks ago, my daughter said to me, we were reading, it wasn't this exact book, it was a Biff and Chip book, and Biff spilled something. No, Biff's dad spilled something. It was the one where he doesn't put the lid on the blender and it goes everywhere, and the mum comes in and says, no fuss, clean it up. And she said, my daughter said, I find it really scary when you shout when I spill stuff, because I don't do it deliberately and it makes me scared. And I was like, ouch. Here is my opportunity to grow, strengthen our relationship. And I'm actually really glad that she was able to say that, because I hadn't realised that my reaction to spilling things was so big. And it also gave me an opportunity to think about how I was treated when I spilled stuff and why I get so anxious about it, because I have a thing about that, because it was a big deal in my house. So we can say, it must have been really frustrating when Mummy said that she was going to take away a toy because you wouldn't put your shoes on. It doesn't really feel very fair, does it? No, it doesn't. You know, they will go with you. They will support you because they love you and they want connection with you, because you're their mummy or their daddy or their granny or another significant parenting figure in their lives. And number 6, which is really powerful, and I just alluded to it in my less mess version, is you make a plan. So you can say to your kids, there's 2 ways of doing this, and you can do both if you like. So 1, Mummy's feeling really frustrated right now. Mummy's going to go and have a cup of tea. And then we can come up with a plan for maybe how, you know, we don't repeat this pattern again. Because I don't want us to fight. I want us to be happy and loving and work together as a team. What do you think? Or you can say, okay, Mummy's just going to go into the bathroom and take a few deep breaths, because deep breaths calms me down. And here's the thing, is 1, you're showing you're human. 2, you are modelling how to deal with big feelings. And this is what will happen after many, many repetitions of this, is your child will say to either you or somebody else, I'm feeling really, really frustrated. I'm going to go and do some deep breaths. And it is actually very, very cute. And also it's really powerful, because they don't learn that from a book. They don't learn that from the TV. They learn it from seeing you model it. So this is not a sign of weakness. Apologies are not a sign of weakness. Telling your child, okay, I need 2 minutes just to do some deep breathing in the kitchen and have a drink of water. This is really powerful learning that you are giving to your children. So, and then the next part of part 6 is make a plan to make it not happen again. Because this is the real meaning of an apology, and many of us have said this to our kids. You don't just say sorry. Sorry means trying never to do it again. So in the case of getting out the door and kids not putting their shoes on and it getting really annoying and, you know, mummy getting really cross, this is where you go away and you think, you know, afterwards at a later date, you can either plan it with them depending on their age and depending on, you know, how well you get on, and if you have support to do this, you could plan together, okay, what can we do in the future to make getting out the door a bit easier? How about we get like a sheet on the wall of like, okay, so shoes first, and then coats, then key, you know, then backpacks on, and then off we go, or something like that. Or, you know, if your kids are young, you can have a think to yourself, okay, what do I need to do to make this pinch point? I'll do another series on pinch points at some point. A pinch point is a common area of conflict. It's a phrase that I made up, so you might not see it everywhere else, although I imagine it's probably used somewhere else. Apparently it's used in architecture. Very interesting. So a pinch point is somewhere where you have like the same argument again and again and again, and as the leader in your family, you get to seek out opportunities to make things better. To go, okay, so we're always arguing about getting out the front door. Okay, so how about we get like little buckets for everybody with the stuff that we need? How about we get, you know, a sheet, this first, and then this first, and the kids take more ownership. How about we start earlier? Oh, do you want to come on, Gemma? Did you mean to press that? Let me see if I can press it. Approve. Don't worry, if you don't want to come on, you can just hop off, but this is really cool. I've never done this before. So yeah, you find ways of making it not happen. Oh, did you just press the wrong button there? Don't worry, Gemma. That would have been very cool. Next time, maybe, next time. So yeah, that's it. I'm just going to recap, and there is, I know, Gemma, you missed this at the start. Anybody else watching this, please, again, do me a hashtag replay. Let me know if this is helping, if there's any aha moments coming up. I will put this, it's in a document, which actually, since the lights are on, I may be able to get on my laptop and send it. So I will summarize this. You don't need to say no. So number 1, say the words, literally say the words, I am sorry. And then what for? I'm sorry I shouted. I'm sorry I did a bit of threatening there. I'm sorry I spoke to you like that. Number 2, tell them it's not appropriate. Because if it happens in their home, they will assume that this is how you should treat people. They will assume, so, you know, say you raise your voice at your child in your home, unless we as the leaders, as the parents, address it and say, okay, that wasn't the right thing to do, and I'm going to try and do something different, and I'm sorry that happened. But if you grow up in a shouty household, you assume that's how people treat each other, and we don't want that for our kids. Doesn't mean we have to need to be perfect, because we always rupture and repair and rupture and repair. This is the cycle. This is the work of being a parent and a family member and a human. It happens in all relationships, isn't it? So tell them, so sorry for shouting. Why is it not? It's not appropriate. It's not appropriate for another person to take out their feelings on you. And also, you're teaching them that they, just because they have big feelings, can't go and punch their brother in the head. You're teaching them that by modeling it yourself, which is much more powerful than telling them. 3, explain how you felt that led up to it, because naming your emotions helps them at a later date to name their emotions, and also it's good practice for you. So I felt angry or frustrated because I was worried about missing the bus or whatever it was. Sit on your butt. I'm going to change my fingers there. Sit on your butt. So none of that, but if you'd have just put your shoes on, it would have been all right, because that does negate all your hard work. And often that's how we were apologized to, so that's all we know. And of course we use the models that we know. But, I'm using the negator there, but it wasn't helpful then, and it wound us up then as children if we were lucky enough to hear a half apology, and it doesn't cut it for an actual apology. You don't but, because that's the politician thing where they take it away. Number 5, acknowledge their feelings, that it might have been scary for them. or it might have felt not fair. Must have been a bit scary when Mummy's voice got loud. Sorry about that. Number 6, effectively calm yourself down. Make a plan of how to calm yourself down, and you can make a future plan together or by yourself for how to make it not happen again. So identify your pinch points. This is at a later date, whilst you're watching TV or with a cuppa and your notebook or journal. Okay, so that's 3 times this week I've raised my voice when we've been trying to get out the door, or at bedtime, or at bath time. What can I change? And then, just keep tinkering with it, and hopefully it will be reduced. So hopefully that is helpful. I will move this video into the guide section where there's all of the Friday trainings. I'm going to move it into the guide section, and as soon as I can, I will put out the PDF for the structure of these 6 things. Because having it planned, even having it stuck on your wall, maybe on the way out of your house or in the bathroom or wherever your pinch point is, it's actually really, really helpful. So you can look at it, or you can plan out what you're going to say. It's got a little section, so you can actually pre-write what you're going to say, because in the moment your brain will kind of go dead. That's okay, because you're full of stress hormones, and the more you plan, the more successful you will be. Have a really, really lovely weekend. Thank you very much for commenting this week. Thank you for joining in, and thank you very much for being here, either live, hey Jen, that's just me and you right now, or in if you're getting the replay, because I know people in the States tend to get the replay in the middle of the night here. Okay, bye bye. Have a lovely weekend.